Welcome to the channel, and today we're going to be installing the Strut strut tower brace and the Strut rear sway bar. Now, first thing I'm going to do is install the Strut strut tower brace, and that's going to mount on top of the strut towers in these open holes. And that's going to just stiffen up the suspension a little bit, give you a better response when you're driving. The hardware for this is going to be these two bolts, two washers, and these are going to be extensions if you have the hybrid engine, just to give you a little more clearance when it runs across. Installation is going to be super easy and straightforward. We'll start off by taking off the bolts on each side. Next, we're going to grab our strut tower brace and we're going to feed it under this hose and put it right where it goes. And then get your bolt and a washer and hand tighten through each of the bolt holes. Now that we've partially threaded it in by hand, we'll tighten it down. Now we'll torque each bolt to 30 foot-pounds. Now that we're done with the strut tower brace, we'll move on to the rear sway bar. So we will have to lift the vehicle up, and I'm going to use the factory jack that comes with the Maverick, which is going to be inside. You're going to pull this tab, and then behind it's going to be right in this bag. If you've never actually lifted up a vehicle, right in front of the rear tire and behind the front tire, there's going to be this little arrow, and you're going to put your jack right on the pinch weld here and lift it from there. Alright, so now the Maverick is off the ground, and before you ever get under a vehicle, do not get under it if the weight of the vehicle is on the jack itself. Make sure you have jack stands. Right now this is just sitting here, so no need to worry about that. Also, before you start, you want to give it a little nudge, make sure that it is stable and it's not going to fall on you. And then the first thing we'll have to do is take off the wheels before we can actually remove the factory sway bar. Now that we've actually disconnected the sway bar, we'll take off the sway bar links, which is going to be the bolt right here. It is an 18 millimeter. Now that we've taken off the bolts for the sway bar linkage, we'll come under. So right over here is your sway bar linkage. And then this is your plastic cover. It's just going to have a plastic pin. Let's see. Right here, and then one at the top, in this top corner. Alright, this is a better angle. So this is the passenger side. There's a bolt right up here that we need to take off, and then one right under, and that's going to be a 10 millimeter. Now we're going to remove these two bolts holding the sway bar on. Now that the tension's off of the sway bar, you can take the links off on each side. Okay, I finally got the old sway bar off. This is it right next to the new. Of course, the blue one is the new one. It did take quite a while and quite a lot of shimming it back and forth to actually get the sway bar out. And I did have to drop the exhaust, which I'll show you how to take off the hangers here in a second. There's just one hanger there and an orange one right there that you'll have to drop, and that made it so much easier. So a good tip I saw on YouTube, and I'll link his video up in the top, is to get your channel locks on and then pull the exhaust hanger off like that. Now I forgot to say, the reason I'm installing the sway bar is when the truck turns, it rolls quite a bit. And this only affects the car's handling when turning. It makes it a lot more stiff so that you can keep traction longer. It just gives it a little more grippier feel on turns. Alright, so I already got the new sway bar back in. That was way less time than taking the old one out. This only took probably 2 minutes, and taking it out probably took 30 to 40 minutes. So that is a good surprise for me. And this sway bar is adjustable. All the way on the left here is going to be closest to the factory, but it will be a little stiffer. I'm going to install it on the middle, and then on the far right, that's going to be your stiffest setting. So you can play around with it and see what you like. Now with the bushings, we're going to grease them up with the supplied grease that they give you. And you're going to do the outside here and also the inside. And you're just going to cover it with the whole bottle on both of them. Now there is a split on these, and that's how we're going to put it on the sway bar. After we grease it, we're just going to open it up and slide it on. Now we're going to get our bushing and install it on this stop. So you just pull it apart and slide it on. Angle it towards. And we'll install the bracket with the hardware from the factory. Now we're going to torque these bolts to 40 foot-pounds and then reinstall the heat shield. Now that we're all done installing the bushing and the heat shield, and then we inserted it into the sway bar linkage, all we have left is to put the bolt back on, and then we're all finished. Alright, everything's done. So now all I have left is put the tires back on. Everything's torqued down the way it should be, and I think I forgot to say, these bolts are supposed to be 75 foot-pounds. Now, eventually I do want to make this more off-road capable. I know it's a Maverick, so it can't be a rock crawler or anything like that, but I do still want to adventure with this vehicle. The sway bar might be a detriment to that, because you want a softer sway bar or a sway bar that's disconnected so that you can have more articulation in your wheels. So we'll see how this plays out in future episodes. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.